All right, so you know, I like to start off with, does anybody have anything interesting and exciting going on? I started off with my AP students, a couple of them having a hard time submitting their responses yesterday. That was a big bummer. Anybody else have anything interesting, fun, and exciting? We're building a retaining wall in my backyard. We've dug a ditch. We're pouring concrete, putting up rebar. Very exciting. Lots of fun. Lots of fun. Anyway. All right. So if you guys would like to turn off your videos now, you can. I think I've seen everybody that's coming. Seems to be kind of a small group this week. So hopefully I will get to hear from everybody else either by doing the Google form saying that you watched the video, or just shooting me an email or something, kind of checking in and letting me know, why you weren't able to make it to the live meeting. I do understand that there are going to be AP exams over this week and next week. And so, if you can't make it, or if you can't do the homework for the week or something, or the assignments for the week or something, because you're consumed by your AP exam stuff, just shoot me a message. Just let me know. It is not a big deal. I wanted to check in with you guys real quick about last week's assignments, because I had a much smaller turnout than normal of people turning in work last week. And I realized last week's assignment is a hard one. But I didn't see a lot of people in the office hours that I provide. And I just want to encourage you guys to make sure you're staying involved, that you are, trying to learn the material, not so much for your grade. I don't know how much grades are going to matter at all at this point, honestly. But it, just for your own, being a better, smarter person, improving yourself, keeping your options open for your future, and, regardless of what you end up doing. And maybe you'll never need to know this unit circle stuff. Maybe it's not something that you'll ever use, but you never know, you might. So anyway, stay engaged, give it a try. I know last week's was hard, but this week, you got access to this whole entire unit circle completely filled out for you to do this week's assignment, which can help you go back and do last week's assignment too. Now, technically, you should have been able to kind of reproduce the part of the unit circle that you needed to do last week's assignment. And Erin, I got you. Thank you. But, if you are showing me that you can even just use the unit circle to find those answers, and I think that's valuable, that's important. So make sure you're doing that. I am not penalizing people for late work, and so if you didn't do last week's and you are able to get it done and get it turned in still, I will still give you credit for it. So make sure you're doing that. I don't know how other teachers are doing it, but you guys should see that I am not marking assignments as completed, which means that they're never, if you don't do them, it's not going to hurt your grade. It only helps your grade. So for those people that already have good grades, it's just, kind of buffering them even more. But again, use this as a time to kind of learn and improve and get smarter and grow your brain. And if your grade has room for improvement, then just keep in mind every single thing you turn in is going to help your grade go up. So anyway, that's my spiel for this week. I wanted to go through this week's lesson, so I'm going to share my my document camera screen with you and talk about just a few things here. In the video, I think it's pretty clear. He makes it pretty obvious how to find the exact values using the table. He uses a little finger to point and everything, and I think that's real handy. He goes through how to find the approximate values using a calculator. Being careful that when you see the radians like that you change the mode in your calculator to radian mode. And when you go back to degrees, that you do it in degree mode. So just be careful about that. I think the one thing that was a little bit tricky was where you had to find the angles. The first angle, well, using the table, I don't think it is tricky, because you can find the two angles just by looking to see where cosine equals 1/2, right? But when you go to do it on the calculator, that's when it's a little bit trickier. So you find the first angle just using the calculator, right? But then you have to use the unit circle to find the second angle. And so it's a matter of looking to see, you know, if you have to find where cosine is equal to this, well, that's a positive value. So then I have to think, where is cosine positive? Well, cosine's positive when I go to the right, because that's the positive x direction, right? And so that's going to be the first and the fourth quadrant. And so then I use that reference angle that I got for that in the first and the fourth quadrant to determine the two angles. So determining that second angle is a little bit tricky because you are having to go back to the unit circle and the reference angles to figure that out. The part that was really tricky, and you can see on my notes, I even circled tricky, is when it's one of the reciprocal trig functions. So not your basic sine, cosine, tangent, because there are buttons for those on the calculator, but the secant, the cosecant, and the cotangent that don't have the buttons on the calculator. So just, you know, I'll go through one or two of those on the homework, but just remembering to rewrite the problem as one of those functions that's on the calculator. So that instead of having cosecant theta, take the reciprocal of both sides so that you have sine theta is equal to the reciprocal of that value, right? By putting it under a 1. And then you can do the inverse button to undo that. So that was kind of it with the notes. If you have your homework in front of you, you can get that out. And like I said, I will go through a couple of them with you right now. I did see that some people turned them in already, so you might just have your homework in front of you so that you can check your answers and make sure you were doing them correctly. So I've circled number 7 here because I wanted to talk about how to do that one. This one is using the table to find the exact value, but 765 degrees is not in the table. So this angle is coterminal with one of the angles that is in the table. And so I'm going to get this angle to be between 0 and 360 degrees by subtracting 360 from it. And what I found when I subtracted 360 was I still had an angle that was bigger than 360. So instead of subtracting 360, I'm going to subtract 720, which is 360 degrees twice. Okay, so I've gone around the circle twice to get that 720 degrees. And if I subtract that, then that gives me 45 degrees, which is coterminal with that 765 degrees. So then I'm going to find the tangent of 45 degrees in the table, and that gives me the answer, right? So then I come over to the table, and I find the 45 degrees, and then I go over until I get to the tangent of the 45 degrees, and that gives me my answer there of 1. I want to talk about number 13 next, because this was one of those reciprocal functions. Since I'm using a calculator and there isn't a cosecant button on the calculator, I want to take the reciprocal of cosecant, which is sine, right? And so I'm going to, in the calculator, type in the 1 divided by sine of 80. And so you can type it in exactly like that. Depending on what kind of calculator you have, it can be different keystrokes. And so I will tell you the answer to that one so that you can check. Another thing to always make sure you check is to make sure you're in degree mode when you're supposed to be in degree mode. So on this calculator here, I can just go 1 divided by sine of 80 degrees. And so I should get 1.0154. 1.02, let's call that, round that up. Okay, because again, it was 1.015. That 1 rounds up to a 2, right? Let's see. Okay, so let me take you guys through one of the ones where you have to find the angle. You want to make sure you find 2 angles, right? Let's see. I think I actually did one of these first. So again, I think I won't go through these because they are pretty straightforward. If I had to find cosine, where cosine theta was -1/2, I would just look in the table. I'd look under the cosine column. Okay, and I look to see where cosine is -1/2. Oh, there's one. Keep going. And there's one. And so what is the angle there? So that's 120 degrees and the 240 degrees. Okay. So that's how you can use the table. That's pretty straightforward. It's less straightforward when you have to use the calculator and you have to find the second angle using your unit circle. One thing that I think was a nice hint is they left big space here, and the reason they left a lot of space on these is because you do want to be able to draw those unit circles to have that reference angle to know where that second angle goes. So I'm actually going to flip over to number 36 here and do that one with you guys, because again, this is one of those reciprocal functions. And so there's not a secant button on your calculator. So I'm going to write this in terms of a button that is on my calculator. So if I think, what is the reciprocal of secant? Well, I know secant is 1 over cosine. So then I'm going to take the reciprocal of both sides of this, and that secant theta I'm going to write as cosine theta, because I've taken the reciprocal of secant to get cosine. And now I have to take the reciprocal of this here. So that's 1 over negative 1.589. And then to find theta, I have to undo the cosine. So that's when I would do the inverse cosine of that value there, that 1 over negative 1.589. And so then I go on my calculator and I do inverse cosine of 1 divided by negative 1.589. 129 point something degrees, but rounded to the nearest hundredth, that's definitely 129 degrees. And you could even put a 0.00 to put the 0.00 to show that it is rounded to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so now I have to find the other angle, right? There's one of the angles, so I need to find the other angle. So they gave me that secant was a negative. And so again, I'm gonna think in terms of cosine, because they're reciprocals, they're going to be positive and negative in the same quadrants. So then I want to think, where is cosine negative? Cosine's the x value, so that's going to be where I go in the left direction, right? So I've got the angle that's in this quadrant here and the angle that's in this quadrant here. And I already found the one angle that was 129 degrees, was that one there. So now I need to find this reference angle here that's going to be in that quadrant there and in that quadrant there. And then once I have that reference angle, I'll be able to determine what this other angle is by doing 180 plus that reference angle. Okay, so I'm going to do 180 minus 29 to get the reference angle in here. And somebody jump in if I do this wrong, but I think that angle there should be, let's see, 180 minus 129 would be 51, 41, 51. Did I do that right? Let's see, if I add 50 and 20, that gives me 70. Yeah, 180. Okay, and so then this is also a 51 degree reference angle down in here. And so then if I do the 180 plus the 51, that gives me this one here. So again, I have 180 plus 51 to get this angle down here, which is the 231. Okay, so 129 and 231 degrees are the two angles for that number 36 there. Okay. You guys want me to go through one more, or do you feel like you got the idea? What do you think? I'm looking for any kind of indication. A thumbs up. I've seen a thumbs up. You guys feel okay about it? Okay. All right, well, that is all that I have for today. I'm gonna have you guys leave a little bit differently than I have lately, and I'm gonna ask that you leave after I see you and say your name. Okay, so you can turn your videos back on. Audrey, Brooklyn, Grace, you guys are good to go. Thanks for coming all together. Sol and Anna, you guys are good to go. Aaron and Tyler and Wyatt and May, Aaron. Oh yeah, I think I just said Aaron, huh?
Yeah.
Wyatt, Xavier, Brandon, I see you waving. You can go. Thank you. Bye, Jackson. Bye, Blake. Bye, Karma. Bye, Haley. Bye, Caden. Bye, Sequoia. Weston, you're good to go.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Ethan. I know I can't see you. Just if I can't see you, you can unmute yourself and say goodbye that way, and then.
Bye, Miss Grassel.
Bye, Miss
Okay.
Grassel.
Bye, Eli. Bye, Nate. Let's see. Isabella, you can go.
Bye.
Kathy, you can go.
Bye, Miss
Zach,
Grassel.
you can go. Jordan
Bye.
Pennington, you can go. Leo, you can go. Thank you. Nate, you're good.
I just want to let you know that Jacob's getting his wisdom teeth out today, so that's why he's not here.
Oh my goodness. Poor
Yeah.
guy. Well, luckily
him
he's
luck.
already done all his assignments. Thank you for letting me know. I'll make a note of that. I appreciate that, Nate.
Yeah.
Bye, Miss Grasso.
Bye, Christina.
Bye.
Bye, Elizabeth.